The views and opinions expressed by the following program are those of the host, guest, and callers and are not necessarily those of this station or the Webster Rockhill Ministries, its management, or other host or underwriting sponsors. Programs presented on KWRH-LP are for educational and entertainment purposes only.
Welcome back to St. Louis in Tune. This is Arnold Stricker. Mark Langston is on assignment. Folks, we hope that you're enjoying your day today. We have a very special guest on the line with us, and I want to give a little background, and we're going to ask him some questions. But what would you do if you had a dog who was deaf? What would you do if you had, it's one thing to have a sibling or a daughter or a son or a wife or a husband or a father or a mother who is unable to hear. But what if you had an animal? And a lot of these animals, they just kind of get left. They get discarded. They get put aside because nobody wants to deal with them. They are kind of, maybe people think like, we're just going to shove you to the side here. And animals have a way of encouraging. They have a way of making you relax. They have a way of making you happy. And on the phone, we have Chris Hanna and Cole, his dog, who is deaf, and they are the Team Cole Project. Chris, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey, now, a little background about you before we begin. You're a music teacher. I was a former music teacher here also. And tell us a little bit about you and how you came to get Cole.
I'm an elementary school music teacher in Vineland, New Jersey. We're down south by the New Jersey shore. And I've been teaching for, this is my 19th year. And just about 3 years ago, I was ready to adopt a new puppy. And when I went to my local animal shelter's website, I noticed that there was one listed that had special needs. It was a little white deaf pit bull puppy. And I immediately went to set up an appointment to go visit the dog because I have a deaf nephew. My nephew at the time was 9 years old. And I immediately thought of him. And then I went and met the dog. And when I went and met him, there were several families that were there actually waiting to meet this dog to adopt him. But in the world of animal shelters, puppies get adopted pretty much right away. Everybody loves the puppy. But nobody would adopt this dog because of the fact that he had a disability, that he was born deaf. I fell in love with the fact that he was deaf. He was an amazing little puppy. And then the story all kind of spiraled from there.
That's really unbelievable. We've got a couple clips that I have taken from your YouTube channel, and we're going to play two of these.
My name is Chris Hanna, this is my puppy Cole, and my nephew Kevin, and they're my inspiration behind the Team Cole Project, where we try to teach students and promote to students about awareness and acceptance of those who are a little bit different than the rest of us, and how each one of us can be our own superheroes.
And most importantly, is to always be yourself.
So tell us how this whole thing, I know, your nephew has, he's also deaf, and how did this kind of kick in? Did you just kind of springboard from that? And, being a music teacher, you're involved with so many kids, and there's so many needs out there. What was the impetus behind this?
What's amazing about this entire project is how it's happened so organically. Nothing that has happened for us has been planned, premeditated whatsoever. It's just all naturally unfolding in such a positive way. And we're so blessed and lucky that this is all happening. But I started bringing Cole around even before I could pick him up from the animal shelter when he was officially adopted. There was about a week before I picked him up. So I teach about 600 kids each year, and I would show them pictures of the puppy. The kids even actually helped name him. I did a school-wide survey vote about what name he should have. So they were very integral in his life before they ever even met him. So the day that I could pick him up, my principal allowed me to leave school about a half an hour early so I can get there before the animal shelter had closed. And when I came back to school with Cole, the lobby was full of students and staff members, and I realized that they're all fully vested in this little puppy. who was born a little bit different than other kids or other puppies. Excuse me. And I would bring Cole around my classroom in the afternoons, once every couple weeks or so. But when I did, I started to realize that the students were showing so much empathy towards this puppy. And it's something it's difficult to teach. I take pride in trying to teach a lot of character education as well as music. A lot of my students are very socioeconomically challenged. They don't come from the best background sometimes. And teaching empathy and compassion and acceptance is kind of difficult. So I started to notice the way that they were responding to this little deaf puppy. So then the following year, Cole was in a contest at our local SPCA where he was adopted. It's called the Dog of the Year contest at the South Jersey Regional Animal Shelter. And the dog that raises the most money wins the contest. It's nothing more than just a plaque and, the accolades that go along with it. But one of the ideas that I had, one of my nephew's favorite books when I first adopted Cole was a book called El Defo about a child who was born deaf that became a superhero. And it kind of became a catalyst for a brainstorm that I had about writing a comic book. My nephew was in love with comic books. So I wanted to write a comic book about my nephew and my dog as like a dynamic duo of superheroes. Mm-hmm. So I started working with one of my fifth grade classes came in, and I kind of ran the idea by them, and a kid raised his hand and had like an idea. I'm like, wait, this is awesome. And then another little girl raised her hand and had an idea about the plot. So I kind of forgot about teaching music for the rest of the class period, and I hurried up and I grabbed a giant sheet of teacher paper and a marker and started writing all these ideas down that these kids were having. So then the next class comes in about 40 minutes later, and they started contributing. So then the next thing you know, I had collaborated with about 250 students in my school, and each one of them kind of gave different ideas, and we would just literally sit down on my floor and have brainstorm sessions about how we could turn this whole concept into a comic book and all these villains and all these things that the two of them as superheroes had to overcome. But the whole comic book was published locally from a printer here, and it was to raise money for the SPCA. Every comic book that we sold, the money went directly towards the Dog of the Year campaign for us. We never anticipated that comic book would hit national news. Actually, it started with a small newspaper here in Vineland called the Daily Journal, but then USA Today had picked it up. And within like 24 hours, we noticed it was in publications all over the country. So it was all just initially about raising money for an animal shelter, and then it started spiraling. A school about 40 minutes north of where we're located had seen the article and reached out to the reporter, Deb Marco from the Daily Journal, and said that there is a third grade boy at the time named Gio who just got cochlear implants like my nephew, and he was having a really, really tough time because he felt different than other kids. Mm-hmm. And they asked if we would come up and speak. And I never really thought about doing that. I never really considered it before, but I was like, absolutely. I have no fear of speaking in front of people, and I'll bring Cole up. We'll dress him like a superhero. And, but as we walked into this school, we were greeted in a way that I'm still shocked, and it's 2 years later. The entire vestibule of the school was decorated with pictures of Cole that the students had drawn. They had a huge banner over top of the gymnasium doors. And then as the students started entering the auditorium where we were speaking, the school itself had T-shirts printed with Cole's picture on it. And said, I may be deaf, but I hear with my heart, with this amazing picture of Cole that they had gotten from the newspaper article. And after we spoke, we didn't realize that the boy's family was there as well. They invited his parents and his sister. And we walked away, and at the end of the day, and like, wow, this is something very unique. And about a week later, I got a message from the teacher that this young man's life had changed because he realized that there's other things in this world that are just like him. And it gave him like a sense of courage. So then 6 months after that, we got another like follow-up email, and that his whole life has changed in such a positive way because he finally got the one thing that gave him this unique sense of courage through Cole's story and Cole's journey. So it's all kind of just kept spiraling, and to this day, the Team Cole Project's been in existence for not quite 2 years now, and it seems like every day there's something else that goes on that just spirals it into such a meaningful project. And we're so lucky because, like I said, none of this has ever been planned. It's just turning into such positive things for children, and it extends way past just children as well. So we're just super, super blessed right now. It's been an amazing, amazing journey.
You know, and I love the things that you have posted on your Facebook page, which is, folks, is Cole the Deaf Dog, the Team Cole Project on Facebook, and he is the cutest little guy. I'm looking at this right now. You know, he's a pit bull. He's got this blue uniform on, this red cape, and these yellow kind of gloves, and he looks like Superdog there. But I was really taken this morning when I got on, and I saw something that you had posted that you were driving around in the Team Cole vehicle and greeting the kids, because you guys you can't go to school either right now.
Yes, we are in a school shutdown for the foreseeable future. As of now, it's all the way through April 20th, but they'll reassess at that point.
But you're driving around the neighborhoods where the kids are to encourage them, right?
Yeah, we actually got back about 10 minutes before you guys had called. We drove around for about 2.5 hours this morning. We mapped out, yesterday we did a test drive, and we mapped out all of our area. Vineland's a very large square mile. It's a huge town. It's actually the largest city in New Jersey. So our school neighborhoods are quite large with a lot of small side roads. But a lot of our students, we have students with severe anxiety, students who Cole is their rock that they count on. And this whole thing has been very, it's been hard on Cole too. He's been a little bit off. So the other day I had this idea and I ran it by my boss. And I was like, what do you think about me driving around in the Cole-mobile, which my truck is, it's a white truck, same color as Cole, but it has a lot of Cole decals. It's wrapped, and everybody recognizes it. The kids all recognize it. The town recognizes it. So we drove through all the neighborhoods. I sat in the passenger seat with Cole with his paws out the window, and as we went up and down the neighborhoods, there are kids that use like sidewalk chalk, and they did their whole driveway with, Cole fan mail, or kids put pictures of Cole on their front doors and stood at the door and on their porches and waved to us. They know they have to keep their distance, but just them getting that glimpse of Cole is really reassuring to them at a very tough time. A lot of our kids are probably starting to get a little curious and frightened about why it is that we're not in school. And like I said, we have several kids who really, really count on Cole every single day to even walk through the doors of our school. And for them to be a little bit withdrawn from Cole of all times right now,
it's tough for them.
We wanted to do this, then we wanted to, so they can just getting that glimpse of him can change everything for those students.
Absolutely.
We do virtual visits on YouTube every morning. I just started a series on our YouTube channel doing bedtime stories.
I saw that. What a great thing. You've got him, and he's a cuddle bug. He just gets in your arms and gives you hugs, and his looks remind me of our dog, but we have a very similar kind of dog. But he's just a cuddle bug, and you can't not like him. You can't not love him. He's just got that expression on his face that you just want to get up and give him a big hug.
Yeah. He's a big squishy monster, as the kids call him.
We've got another clip we want to play right now about the Team Cole Project.
Hi friends, it's Chris and Cole here. I wanted to share kind of a unique story. As you guys know, Cole comes to my school every single day. Such an awesome thing for our kids. And he works wonders with the students and inspires them in kind of a very unique way. Last week I was sitting in my classroom and I'm looking, and there was a student picking hair off of the back of Cole and off of the carpet in my classroom. And I was very curious as to why he was very insistent upon doing this. So I kind of pulled him aside after class was over, and I was like, "Hey, bud, why are you taking Cole's hair and putting it on your pants and in your pocket, on your shirt?" And that student actually said, "Because I want to take a piece of Cole home with me because I miss him when he's not with me." And that was such a heartwarming thing to feel and to hear, and it made me realize just how important Cole's role is in the lives of some of these children. And it is such a blessing to have this special guy in my life and to be able to spread this much love to kids. And for something as simple that we take for granted as the nuisance dog hair on Daddy's pants, it actually meant the world to someone else. Something so simple as dog hair. Maybe it really is magical glitter. Have a great day, friends.
This is Arnold Stricker of St. Louis in Tune. You're listening to KWRH. We were talking to Chris Hanna and Cole the Deaf Dog of the Team Cole Project. Chris, who would imagine that his hair would be that important to kids? And you know as well as I, being a teacher and a music teacher specifically, because you see all the kids, you get to interact with them in a manner that's not quote unquote academic, but more of fun and something that they can maybe identify with if they're not an academic kind of related student. And students from all backgrounds and socioeconomic backgrounds love music, or even art or PE, but especially music. And what you've done with that, what was that impact like with you when I know what my own reaction when I heard that. It almost made me cry, frankly, to hear what that little guy said.
There are moments that happen so often, and it's little tiny moments that the students don't necessarily even realize that they're saying and that they're doing. When I asked that child that, I was set back. I got to be honest. Like, I needed to take a minute in the back of my room, kind of by myself. Yeah. Luckily, my next class wasn't rolling right in. When I hear kids say things like that, it really, it's empowering, and it's also sad at the same time. It's empowering because I realize that what I'm doing with Cole is making a difference in the lives of these kids. But it's sad to realize that some of these students don't necessarily get to understand what love really is, or to see one of the biggest things I pride in is my bond with Cole, and the way that the students can see what a true bond between two things really is. They see how him and I are so together, and we're so in tune, and they can hopefully transfer that into their own lives. It doesn't mean just because he's a dog, they can transfer it to human bonds. There are times when kids say things that it's hard to hold it back. It really is, and it happens so often. There was a period of time where I worked with students one-on-one during my prep periods and lunches and stuff like that. And one of the things I started to do was I interview them, and I video interview them with Cole, and I just let them talk. I really don't. I ask maybe like a prompt question, and I just let them kind of go on with it. And when I go through and I edit these videos, and then I don't really use them for any other reason except to show the students themselves about them talking about their feelings, whether it's anxiety, whether it's anger, whether it's, emotions, whatever it may be. And when they go back and they reflect on it, but when I go through and I edit these videos, and to hear what these students sometimes say, like one little girl, she's had a tough life, and she was talking about how, no matter what, Cole makes her feel like she's the number one best in her life. And, the little girl who has severe anxiety this year, and for her to open up and tell kids that you should talk about it, you should, there's going to be somebody like Cole in your life, or an adult or a teacher, and to hear her finally say the words that, she has anxiety or she feels a certain way, and for kids to open up about it, they get so much courage when their hands are resting upon Cole. It is unbelievable to witness. And I always say this, but I'm so lucky that I have an administration that is so supportive in this project, and they see the benefits of what's happening to so many of our students.
And that's really true. I'm glad your administration does that they encourage that. And I'm kind of curious, do you do assemblies for the school regularly, or do you also do assemblies for some of the other schools around the area?
I do a Team Cole night to start off the school year last year and this year. I do a lot of school assemblies outside of my own school district. I do assemblies within my school district. We have 9 elementary schools in Vineland. So I've done most of the elementary schools in Vineland, but I've gone as far as almost to New York City, Pennsylvania, Delaware. Like, we've kind of been all over the place doing assemblies, and we've had incredible feedback about our programs. So we're hoping that we can continue to do that, and we have some very big aspirations about the Team Cole project within my school district that we're hoping they can kind of come to fruition eventually, because we're seeing so many benefits district-wide.
Well, and who would have thought that this particular kind of thing would develop into the main thing for you? Your main thing being teaching music, but it seems to not. I'm not saying this in a bad way, taking a second place to this, but this is a very important thing in what you're doing with Cole. It's just unbelievable. And when you're talking to the kids, what are some specific things? Like, we got about 2 minutes before we break, and can you go on a little bit longer?
Yeah.
What are some of the specific things that you talk to the kids in the assemblies about? I know that you tell them their differences, even though they may be unique, they're valuable, they're important. Give our listeners a little bit more topics that you talk about.
I'm very transparent about Cole's journeys and the discrimination that he has had to face as a therapy dog, but as a deaf pit bull. And I turn it into an entertaining yet empowering conversation with children about overcoming obstacles, about perseverance, and not judging a book by its cover or a dog by its cover. And I tell a lot of stories of true stories of things that we have had to face along our journey. And even about, the whole thing opens up with about my nephew and this beautiful little puppy, and there's pictures on the screen. It's all interactive and multimedia. And, they're all just bewildered at the beauty of this little puppy, but then how nobody would adopt him. And then I immediately show a picture of my nephew, and I compare the two. And it's amazing. You can see 5-year-olds up through seniors in high school, and you can hear a pin drop in my assemblies. And I've done them up to 1,000 people, and you don't hear a word. And it's an amazing thing, which tells me that their hearts are captured when we're speaking, and that's amazing.
We're talking to Chris Hanna and Cole the Deaf Dog of the Team Cole Project. I say we're talking to Cole the Deaf Dog because we are, even though he's not listening. I'm sure he's sitting on your lap, Chris.
He's definitely nearby.
We're going to come back after the break, and there are some other developments that have happened with the Team Cole Project, and we'll get into those. And also want to talk to you, Chris, about how you taught him sign language. So this is Arnold Stricker of In Tune, St. Louis In Tune. You're listening to KWRH 92.9 FM, your community radio station in Webster Groves, Missouri. Welcome back to St. Louis In Tune. This is Arnold Stricker. We've been having a conversation with Chris Hanna and Cole the Deaf Dog, which is sitting on his lap or close by. They are the Team Cole Project. I get a chuckle out of that because every time I see those YouTube videos, I see him just, man, he's a hugging away. And our dog, he would love to do that. But he's a little bigger. And we're like, no, you can't do that. But, I'll lay down next to him. But, we had a friend come over, one of our son's friends. And, our dog's not supposed to be on the couch. Well, needless to say, our son's friend had him in his lap, upside down, laying on the couch. And it reminded me of that when you're working with him like that.
Yeah, that's pretty much every day.
That's great. Now, folks, you got to understand that this was probably a very interesting procedure. It's challenging to train a dog, period, but to train a deaf dog, Chris, what are the extra things you have to do? And you kind of taught him sign language. Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, we had Cole. We hired a professional trainer. We kind of interviewed a lot of them, and we wanted somebody that was very reward based. And we found Jamie from Training Aces, and he was absolutely amazing. So what he did was teach us essentially how to teach Cole. So a lot of the signs that we started using with him, they weren't true American Sign Language commands. A dog's brain works a little bit differently, the way that they process certain things. But as time has gone on, all of his commands now are the actual American Sign Language hand motions. So, for instance, speak, it's, 3 fingers tap my chin, and he knows to speak. 4 fingers, sorry. 3 fingers is water. So teaching Cole, it was a challenge, but he was so eager to learn as a puppy. He's always been very, very in tune with me. I swear the day that he came home, like his eyes never went off of me. He's always by my side. He's kind of like a Velcro dog. And that's actually made teaching him things such an enjoyable experience. And this time off from school, we're going to work on, we're going to get some ideas from my students who are still learning from home right now, and some ideas of new tricks that they want to see Cole do. So
that's cool. That's cool. And in 2019, the Cole Project volunteered 300 hours to the New Jersey Veterans Memorial Home and received the Presidential Silver Service Award. Talk about the work that you have done at the Veterans Memorial Home.
That is such an amazing place. Veterans have always had a very special place in my heart. I have a lot of veterans in my family. So the very first place that Cole began volunteering when he received his therapy dog certification was the New Jersey Veterans Memorial Home. It's comprised of about 300 residents, ranging in ages from, early 70s all the way up through. We have a couple of residents pushing 100 years old.
Wow.
And we've grown to become such a family there. We've had so many amazing stories. We've met so many amazing people. But to see these senior citizens light up when Cole is in the room, or them becoming so much more active on Tuesdays because that's the day that Cole's going to be there, and to hear the words that they've said, and to see the joy that he brings in their faces. So many of them obviously had pets, but they can't have them there. And like you had mentioned before, the joy of animals is unremarkable. How much these furry little critters can bring so much happiness into your life. And we know that a lot of these veterans miss their animals. So them getting to see Cole, it's such a rewarding experience. The funny part is they have other therapy dogs. Now, we go at least one day a week. Sometimes if we have a day off of school, we will go spend our day at the veterans home. But there are other therapy dog groups that go there, and so many of the residents apparently refuse them, that they're not interested in seeing them because it's not Cole.
Why do you think that is?
They relate to him in a different way. And I don't know if it's his demeanor. He's just a snuggle bug. He's Cole. He'll lay on the floor and take a nap in the middle of the nurse's station halfway through our visits, which they're generally about 2.5 hours long on Tuesday nights. And that's after working a full day at school. So sometimes he just crashes at, the foot of somebody's bed or at their wheelchair and just takes a nap. But he just brings something out in them. It's kind of hard to explain, to be honest, because we don't really necessarily know what it is about him. That I don't know if it's the disability, the fact that he's deaf. One advantage that I think it is because of the fact that Cole is a pit bull, and a lot of these residents are World War II vets, they're Vietnam vets, they're Korean War vets. And back when they were kids, the pit bull was America's dog. Mm-hmm. It was the nanny dog. And a lot of them had them growing up. And I think they look through the stereotype of the breed. And I think they actually might relate to Cole a little bit more because of it.
And I think what's interesting is when I was listening to you talk about that no matter whether it's a student who's 6 years old or a vet who's 96, the impact that Cole has on lives is tremendous, and what joy and what encouragement they get. And, you know, when you're working with kids, and you know this as well as I do, I'm not telling you something you don't know, that the joy comes from just if they can get a little smile, if they can get a little enjoyment, and it seems like they do see things so simply. And then you get at the other extreme of life, where life is beginning to, sunset for people, and how you can be lonely, and how you can be kind of ostracized and forgotten, and how that reminder of a youthfulness, or a reminder of, hey, there's somebody else who cares about me, who doesn't even know, and he's even got a disability, what that can do to encourage people in later life. That's just unbelievable. And I really give hats off to you about that. It's incredible.
Thank you. And we always talk, like, with every Wednesday morning, the morning after our visit to the Veterans Home, I always come back and I always have a different story to tell my students. Or whether it's a visit with a hospice patient sometime that week, or, a child that maybe we helped. And the more that I talk about it in my classroom and just engage in discussions, in hopes to inspire kids to want to spread that kindness, to maybe think about doing something for somebody else. A friend of my family out in California actually had made a comment to my aunt that lives out there, and she's become a very big Cole fan. But the word she said was, Cole's made me really wonder what it is that I'm doing to make the world a better place. And that really hit home, because then it made me realize, well, maybe even if we inspire one other person to try to do something good for somebody else, then that person can inspire one other person. And then it's a trickle effect. And I'm hoping, to be able to, with so many fans that we have on social media now, that it's an ever-growing population of social media fans, and the comments, and, hopefully everybody can think a little bit differently about what they can do for someone. And it's starting with my kindergarten students up through, like you said, our vets that are in their 90s, just to try to spread that kindness.
And you're spreading that kindness in, you mentioned this, I was going to bring this up also, the hospice therapy that you're doing with Angelic Health Services. Describe how you got involved with that, and what have you experienced with that in the Team Cole project?
We had seen Angelic Hospice, one of their executives, he's a friend of the family, and I'd seen a post on Facebook that they were looking for therapy dogs. And I figured, well, Cole is doing such awesome work with the veterans, it'd be an easy transition. So we had met with them and done the trainings that we needed to do. And then they started assigning us hospice patients that range from 40 years old up through 90 years old. And it's a tough yet needed job. Mm-hmm. It really is. Mm-hmm. I give a lot of credit and my hat's off to those hospice volunteers, because you get attached.
Right. Right.
And a couple of them, we spend more time with them than we do with some others that might not be so close by. We have one that is, she's in her early 40s, and, who knows how much time she has left. and Cole is her world, and Cole became her world the first time that she met him. And, his pictures all over her room. She wears Cole T-shirts all the time. She has a stuffed Cole on her bed with her. And, it's just something to bring a positivity at a time of their lives that, they might not have that much time left. And you want to know that they're as happy as they can possibly be during this difficult time.
Well, I thought this particular story would be a great story for our listeners to hear, especially at this time with the COVID-19 and, businesses shutting down and people quarantining, et cetera, schools being let out. And what you've been able to do with Cole and on the Team Cole project has been, from my viewpoint, nothing short of remarkable. And I want to encourage our listeners to go to Cole the Deaf Dog, the Team Cole project, and check out all the videos, check out his YouTube page, look at all of the amazing photographs. And the one where you're walking out of the vet's home because he's had a rough day is just, I was just, that's so hilarious. And it's so typical. Like, I worked all day, Daddy picked me up. I can't walk. And you guys are such buds. You guys are, it's just plain evident of what's going on. And do you have any other encouraging words? Because the whole project's encouraging, frankly, Chris. It's unbelievable. I know you couldn't imagine that adopting a deaf dog would have led you into another career, frankly, that, teaching is now secondary. I know it's not, but this is a viable thing. And especially what you've done with the vets, with those in hospice, and encouraging people, like you said, it's an encouragement project. It's if you can find some joy in the moment, in what you're doing. What other words can you give us about what you're doing?
We just want everybody to see the Team Cole project has a few different sides to it, but the biggest two is that a disability, and to show the world whether you have a disability or not, or you're going to come across somebody that does. And a disability is not an inability. And it's using your disability as, like I tell the children, as your superpower. What is your superpower? Because even if a person has a disability, they can still do anything they want to do. And it's a conversation that's very, very difficult to have to get people to understand. But when you tell that through the eyes of a four-legged friend like Cole, magically people start to understand, or they're willing to understand a little bit more. So to not judge somebody that might have a disability that might be a little bit different. And our other big aspect is do things in the world to spread kindness. If you see somebody in need for something, it doesn't take a lot of effort to just put a smile on your face, to say good morning to someone, to if you have the ability to help somebody in a situation, and to see that my students are starting to think like this and to spread and spend their own money. I had an instance last week where a boy saw a student in his own class that had holes in his shoes, and Lucas went and spent his own allowance to go buy this young man a new pair of Nikes.
Wow.
And brought him to school. But the best part was he didn't want to do it in front of anybody. He wanted to do it in front of the young man, Cole, and myself. He didn't want big accolades about it. But it's to know that kids are learning that they can be kinder people and to do something for somebody. And it doesn't just have to be kids. It can be anyone, senior citizens down to 5-year-olds. And to use Cole as their catalyst to always think of others in a different way. Kindness
goes a long way, especially in times of disequilibrium, in times of, and for some people, disequilibrium is their life, based upon the things that they're going through. And that you can encourage them, that's an unbelievable deal. I really appreciate the time that you've given us today, and give our best to Cole, and tell him that we love him. And
will do.
And folks, I encourage you again to go to Cole the Deaf Dog, the Team Cole Project on Facebook, like them, follow them, watch their videos, pass their videos on, because I will tell you, that's how I came into contact with Cole the Deaf Dog, the Team Cole Project. A colleague of mine who taught deaf and hearing impaired students had this on her page, and I saw that and I was like, this is a story that needs to go out to a whole lot more people, and that's why I've had you on today, Chris, because it's a important project that you're doing. It's something that's badly needed, and hats off to you again. Blessings to you about what you're doing. Let's stay in touch, because we'd like to hear more as things go down the road about what's happening with you and Cole and the Team Cole Project, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us today.
You bet. Take care. Have a good weekend.
You too.